Steve, it's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. You are one of the most iconic musicians right now on the musical scene and specifically in the electronic scene. There is a paradox because it's wider known your work and the work of the electronic musicians, but also there is such a great competition, and right now the people are hearing more music. How do you see the electronic scene right now?
Like the state of it, or
Yeah.
I, like I think the power of the electronic music culture is really about the festivals, and like you can't. That's the thing about the EDM scene is that it doesn't need these large institutions to for it to exist. Like some music actually, they work hand in hand with big radio and big companies because that's just like it kind of that's how they exist, right? With EDM, it never needed that. All it needs is it needs live shows. If you killed live shows, if you're like, okay, on the planet, no more live shows, then EDM would be like severely affected. And you know, it's what I like. I say like for me as a producer, I make music most of the time so that the live shows have more of an impact. And I tour, you know, I'd say like, you like break down my life. I'm an EDM producer, but I'm more known as a DJ because that's what I love. That's what I spend most of my time traveling around the world, playing in front of crowds that are all about the sustainability of what we do, our culture. And when I see it, to me, it makes sense. Because gatherings, whether it's in a stadium watching a football game, or whether it's watching a DJ or an artist, we all want to get together. Strangers want to come together to experience something. And you know, during COVID, it was the opposite. COVID is you spend time with just your family, just the people you know, people you really trust. But really, we're a species that wants to be with lots of other people that we do not know.
And that's why the electronic scene was the first one to gather again after the part more illness of the COVID.
Exactly. I mean, like right when that flip switched, boom, festivals happening and everyone's flooding in, because we have this need to be with others that experience the same feeling, and the beat, the music is just a tool for us to get together to experience that together. You know, that's all. Music is just it's just a vessel to get to your heart. Because at the end of the day, we just want to feel. We just want to feel something with other people. It's a much different feeling to feel something alone than to feel something with someone you love, than to feel something with people you don't know, and then to feel something with a lot of people you don't know. They're all different kinds of experiences.
I always thought that the electronic music is more easier to share that kind of feelings because there is no lyrics in most of it. For example, in Europe, when the Berlin Wall fell down, it was easier for the people in Germany or in Poland to share their emotions with electronic music than in America with the grunge or with the Britpop.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think I'm a testament for this because I could tour around the world, play in front of a lot of different people in all these different cultures and different countries based on the beat. You know, of course I have like songs that have like English lyrics, Spanish lyrics now because I work with a lot of Latin music, Korean lyrics because I work with K-pop. But for the most part, it's people want to hear the melodies. Everyone can sing bum, 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 bum. Everyone could do that. I don't care if you're in Mexico, Australia, South Africa, or in Lithuania, Romania, wherever you are. You can all connect with this. So it's true. It's the language that speaks to everyone.
Right now, as you were saying, you have collaboration with many artists of different languages. How do you feel comfortable mixing all the elements, the beats and the lyrics and the different languages.
I think it's just different cultures too, because the different cultures have different sounds, especially in Mexico. If you look at the Mexican regional music or just Mexico as just the music happening inside this country, there's so many different genres of music. And as I learn more deeply, I'm like, oh my God, what's cumbia, what's corridos, what's banda, what's all this stuff? That like, is there a way for me to be able to work in these cultures? And then when I end up working with some of these artists, and we're like, wow, we just forged a new lane. We created a whole new sound. Nata Aoki is a whole new sound. You know, it's a song I did with Nathaniel Cano. It's like we're taking like cultures and mashing them together, and boom, we have magic. We have this magical new lane of sound that people are really excited to hear. And I think we all want this. We always want to be surprised. We always want to hear something that like moves us, that you're like, wait, we didn't hear that before. But it takes sounds that I grew up on, sounds that I listened to, and it takes another sound I never heard before. Boom, you have something like, I want to hear more of this. So I love being able to be a part of that innovation of music and that innovation of sound.
But as an artist, it's also a challenge because you have to evolve and to forget all the work or to put it aside all the work you made in the past.
It's a really exciting challenge. I love taking on this challenge, and I've been taking on this challenge for, you know, the greater part of my music career. I love always hearing something, figuring out how can we make something different, and more importantly, can we create a new culture out of that? You know, if we can create something brand new out of something that exists already, that's going to create a whole new culture. And that's what's so exciting with music, is that you could create so many different cultures within a culture, you know, and if you could disrupt culture in any way possible, that's the goal for me as an artist.
Are the same the audiences of Latin America than the Europe audiences, or like the Asian audiences with the beat and all the sharing of the emotions?
It's all different. It's all different. Even in the European continent, you know, what I play in Spain, in Italy, in certain countries that love Latin music, I primarily focus on my Latin collaborations. But then there's other countries that like they want a different sound, and I have to, you know, I introduce, and you know, it's a level of education you want to play there, but you have to balance it with what they want to. Because at the end of the day, as much as I am playing my music and introducing them to like, hey, this is the new sounds of Steve Aoki, I also want to make sure that I'm democratic and I'm playing what everyone in the back, in the front, and the sides, that they are there to hear and to party to. Because once again, it's not a lesson. I'm not a professor in front of going, okay, you're gonna only listen to me selfishly. I want them just to be just raging, having a good time.
Maybe not a professor, but like a guru, because you are guiding the audience, the people to feel something.
I'm definitely guiding, for sure. I would not say I'm a guru. I'm definitely like, I almost consider myself sometimes like a designated driver. Like, you guys can all party. I will navigate us. I will drive us where we are going. Don't worry about the driving. That's up to me.
I was thinking that you have there also another challenge. You have the challenge to generate another gender between the genre, but also to sell this kind of new music to the audience that are in front of you feeling something.
Yeah, because it's one thing to listen to it at home, and another thing to hear it in a festival. And so that's one thing that I want to give to a lot of the people that are like, wow, I listened to Nata Aoki like a million times with my friends. We're partying to this in our houses, in our cars, in our bedrooms, on my headphones, on my iPhone, whatever. Now you get to experience it from myself at a festival with all your other friends now. It's a complete different feeling, like we're talking about. What you experience with people you don't know, to people that you know, and so forth.
So we were talking about the past. How do you see the future? How do you feel the electronic scene the next 5 years?
I mean, the thing is like when you think so far ahead, it's going to be very different than what you imagine, right? Like you could always say like, yeah, this is where it's going, but it's always changing, and things change pretty quickly. You know, like you see one major change from one artist that you've never heard of, and all of a sudden, a bunch of artists grow from that sound, and all of a sudden, 2 years later, it's a whole different culture that's being generated. This is what I'm talking about with music. You create a sound that no one's heard of, that everyone loves. Other artists jump into that culture. Boom, it's become its own solidified culture. and in 2 years' time, it's already a genre, right? So you have enough artists to support it, to support what it's all about. It becomes its own vehicle, and it sometimes becomes its own festival, you know. And I love hearing about artists that do this, like Skrillex. Skrillex is a perfect example of an artist that creates his own culture and sound and just grows. And you know, there's plenty of artists that are coming now that are doing the same thing.
Well, I hope that we have the chance in the next 5 years to talk about again culture, electronic scene, and music. It was a pleasure.
Who knew what was going to happen with Latin music? You know, like when Despacito came out, it literally blew up Latin music to a global scale. Latin music's always been dominant, right? But when Despacito came out and certain songs like that came out, it was like everyone that never listened to Latin music, they knew Latin music. They're like, I am intrigued, and now it's part of my playlist. And then they heard J Balvin, then they heard Nicky Jam, then they heard, you know, Maluma, then they heard Bad Bunny, and boom, that's it. Bad Bunny took over the world, and now Bad Bunny is the biggest music artist in the world. How cool is that? In the last, like you say 10 years ago, you'd be like, the biggest music form is going to be not the dominant language of English. People would be like, no way. Of course English is going to be the most dominant form of music, the number one form of music. Always. It's always been this way. From the Beatles to, you know, to now. Like around the world, nope. It's Latin music. It's Spanish. Spanish, and then guess what? Korean. Who would have thought Korean would be more dominant than English because of one artist, BTS? You would never predict things like this.
That thrills you.
I love that.
I could see you.
Are you kidding me? This is exciting. I love the underdog theories. You know, when like you have a culture that's forming, because you have like the top layer, the profitable layer. This is the layer that's formed by large companies and large institutions because there is money being generated here, and they control what everyone listens to. And then you have what people are really listening to. And what's happening now, because the digital world and because the power of people have more say than it did before, right? Because of the way we communicate through the digital space, right? This layer is taking over the top layer. Now the top layer can't dictate that anymore.
It's like a heritage of the electronic scene.
Yeah, see, like the electronic scene's down here, and it's the electronic scene's different. Whereas Latin and K-pop, they work with the top layer. No problem with that. I don't have no problem with that. But the electronic scene, they're like, we don't need you to exist. You know, we really don't. You know, and yeah, there's some that pop up like DJ Snake, Calvin Harris. Like there's a few artists that pop up. That's like 0.001% of the sounds that are happening here. And this beast, it has a very healthy, sustainable ecosystem, and people are thriving and growing and building communities in here.
Steve, it was a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.